What's going on, Warriors? It's Coach Jay. I see you guys over there behind the treadmill. Now listen, today guys, we're gonna dive in. I'm just gonna show you guys what you guys can do to really understand your correction factor, especially if it's dropping you into low blood sugars. We're gonna deal with that specifically today when it comes to correction factors. How to set your correction factor and find out where you are, especially if you notice you're having a lot of lows when you're correcting something. Now, this is good for anyone, whether you're on a pump or injections. You should know your correction factor and whether or not it's changed. A lot of times things that can change, when you work out, you become more insulin sensitive, meaning you likely need a little bit less of a correction factor. If you need a little bit less of an insulin to carb ratio, that means you're more sensitive to insulin post-workout. Chances are you're gonna also need a little bit less of a basal and a little bit less of a correction factor. So fine-tuning these numbers can really help you to get more control and avoid more low blood sugar levels. So we're gonna dive into how you guys can determine this correction factor if you're having lows with it. So we're specifically dealing with lows today. Now, if it's first time on the channel, I help with practical solutions for type 1 diabetics to get their diabetes and their fitness in check to help to take things to the next level. I also do supplement reviews, food reviews, and vlogs. So if any of that sounds good, make sure you guys smash the subscribe button down below, hit that bell notification, hit that like button. Just helps a little itty bitty channel like this grow. You know I got you guys, but let's just dive right in. Doesn't matter if you're on a pump or you're on injections. You should know what your correction factor is, because this is gonna help you to dial things in. And sure, if you're on a pump, it's gonna do everything for you, but you still wanna make sure your correction factor is actually working for you, not against you. Because you can easily take a little too much insulin and end up low, even on a pump, or not take enough and end up high. But what I wanna focus on today is if you're on a correction factor and you notice that you're starting to dip into a low blood sugar level pretty consistently, then this is something that's gonna help you to dial in. Now, the first thing we have to understand is that rapid acting insulins are typically gonna stay in your system for about 5 hours. And so to get a read on whether or not the correction factor is working for you or not, the most ideal scenario is to give yourself a correction based on your correction factor and wait 5 hours. If it didn't come back in and around where your target was, and let's say it just went too low off of where your target, well, maybe you're aiming for 100, you ended up at a 50, then we know we have to make some adjustments to make sure that doesn't happen. But here's how you can pinpoint it the next time to know how much your blood sugar is actually dipping with how much insulin you're giving yourself for your correction. So let's say we have somebody and their blood sugar is a 300 mgdl, and their target now is 100 mgdl. So they want to go from a 300 to a 100, and their correction factor is 1 unit drops them 50 mgdl. So in order to figure out how much units to give themselves, don't have a pump, you're gonna go 300. I mean, this is good even if you have a pump to know how to do this yourself. 300 minus 100 gives you 200, divided by your correction factor, which is 50. So our person would take 4 units of insulin to bring them back down to 100. Now let's say they overshoot it and 5 hours later they end up at a 50 mgdl, they're in a low blood sugar scenario. So now we have to use that information to actually calculate how much is 1 unit actually dropping them down. To do that, we're gonna go 300 minus 50. That's a drop of 250 mgdl to get down to 50 mgdl. Now what you're gonna do is take that number, so 300 minus 50 gives us 250 mgdl. That's how much they dropped, from 300 to 250, or from 300 to 50. Now what you're gonna do is take the units that you gave for that to determine how much 1 unit actually dropped you. So if you go 250, let's do the math right here. You know, your boy's not a mathematician or nothing, but I try. Sorry, I'm not an insulin pump, guys. I gotta do this sometimes. 250 divided by 4 units is what our person gave, equals 62.5. So that means that 1 unit's actually dropping them 62.5. You could round it up to 63 mgdl, based on where they ended up at a 50, not a 100 as their target. So the next time they're 300 and they want to go to 100, here's how much insulin they would actually take. So now we're gonna go 300 mgdl, subtract that by 100, which is our target. So you take your current blood sugar at 300 in our example, minus your target at 100 equals 200. 200 of that divided by, let's say 63. We'll round that up. So 62.5, we'll round it up to 63. 3.1. So the next time around, instead of taking 4 units, which drop them to a low, they're better off trying 3.1 units based on a correction factor of 1 unit drops them 63 mgdls. I hope that helped you guys out. I'll go ahead, I'll see you guys next episode. It's Coach Jay. You know I got you guys.